Hey, it's Dan, and welcome to Unified Gaming. So in this one, I want to share with you my ranged Necro. That's right, a ranged magicka Necromancer that works in PvP. This thing works in Battlegrounds, in Cyrodiil CP and no CP thanks to the changes, and is a lot of fun to play. We really embrace proc sets, scribing, everything we can to make Necro actually work in PvP, and I want to break it all down for you. If you want to see the build in action yourself, there is a dedicated video on the way to the channel, so do subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Alternatively, jump into my stream on Saturday at 9 PM UK, where I stream over on YouTube. I'm going to go through the sets, the skills, everything you need to know, and post a superstar towards the end, so do stay for that. And likes, comments and subscribes really just help. And I want to say a massive thanks to the people over at Patreon and on YouTube members who support to get early access, exclusive content and much more. There's details down below. With this one though, what are we doing? Race wise, you want to be a Dark Elf. Dark Elf, Breton, High Elf, any of those were like the S tier race, they're just the best. If you're not one of those, just yeah, it is what it is. But Dark Elf is like the best out of those three in my opinion, or Breton. You get max mag, max stam as a Dark Elf, flame resist, we are a vampire, and you get weapon and spell damage. So just loads of damage, loads of stats, and flame resist. Really, really, really good stuff. If you're not obviously Dark Elf, High Elf, or Breton, just try the build, maybe change a glyph or two, you could probably work around it. The race won't make or break the build in my opinion. For the attributes, we've gone 64 in magicka this time. We've aimed for 30,000 health or thereabouts, 25k mag and 18k stam. So loads of stats to work with, and our regens do go higher still. I have added a bit more extra sustain on this build than my other setups, just because the way in which Necro is, you have to spam heals more, so you need more sustain. You'll see these stats climb quite high in a moment. Mundus wise, we are using the Atronach for more sustain. It is the most stat dense Mundus there is, so this is really good. And we are using Bear Haunch. Smoked Bear Haunch is a consumable. This will give you max health, and it will give you magicka and stamina recovery. There is a cheaper version which is called Jewels of Misrule, which is purple. It's quite easy to get, so do use that if you can't afford this. Alternatively, consider Citrus Fillet, that's another good option too. A bit more damage than Bear Haunch, but no stam sustain. Potion wise, we use Tri Potions. Health, Magicka, Stamina covers everything. And then for the skills, we are using the following. We have Crushing Shock. Now I'm going to just quickly buff up just to show you the tooltips, and these do go higher still. Crushing Shock is about 9k fully altogether. We then have Blighted Blast Bones, which is 13.5, almost 15 fully buffed. We then use our Scribe skill, Daze and Soul. This is Stun, Druid's Resurgence, and Mage Vitality. This basically means we can stun the target at range, and if we can't stun them at range, we get a heal buff in it, which is great because Necro needs the healing power. And if we are being pressured and we need a defense stun, we can stun people and get bonus healing when we do heal. So it kind of works offensively and defensively, so it's a really good skill. We then use Degeneration, which gives us Mage Brutality and Sorcery, giving us more damage and a damage over time. And we have Spirit Guardian. This will give us a small heal over time, but a free 10% just damage reduction. It's really, really good. At range, you do need this, so this is quite nice to have. You could change this for something else, so if you wish. Ultimate wise, we use Ice Comets. This goes up to about 18k fully buffed, so pretty decent. You could, if you want to go for a bit of the lulls, go for Soul Magic, go for Soul Assault. This is quite a fun skill. It's just not good, but it's fun, so there is that. For the back bar, we are using the following. Summoner's Armor. It's just our armor, major and minor buffs this patch. Resistant Flesh. This goes to about 13k fully buffed, which is great. Resolve and Vigor, this is almost 18k fully buffed. Race Against Time, Movement Skill, Anti-Susceptibility, Armor Debuff, and Burn and Children Concussion status effects. So again, just a free damage boost. We have Temporal, regarded as the ultimate, which gives us more just mitigation. And that's kind of it. You might be going, Dan, I don't have Scribing, and what can I change Dazing Soul to? In all honesty, there isn't a ranged stun that you can use. You'd have to go with an Inferno Staff, but then the Inferno Staff range stun here is only 15 meters, so it's not large enough. In that case, I would change this out and I'd run a damage over time, use another dot. Now you can use something like, and it sounds a bit silly, but if you go down to the grave thing and use the skeletal arcanist, this is a dot now, they've buffed this, so you could use this alternatively. You could just use any kind of buff that you might need, so cleanse or coil, there's options, but there isn't any real good things you do. Failing all of that, you do have good old soul trap, and then use something like consuming trap, which will just gives you a bit more passive damage. Beyond that, there is no real way to get a ranged stun in this build. And one thing to consider is elemental weapon as a spammable. This is quite nice. You'll see it is at 8k, it goes almost 9k fully buffed, so again, pretty decent spammable there. I'm going to go through the champion points in a moment, and obviously the kind of sets. And if you do like these videos, then likes, comments and subscribes really help out. With the champion points, we are using, on the blue ones, Fighting Finesse. This gives us more crit healing, crit damage, so helps damage and heals. Focus Mending helps our healing, which we do need. Master Arms helps our damage, which we do need. Ironclad because we need a bit more damage reduction. For the red ones, Sustain by Suffering, Stam Sustain, Pain's Refuge, Mitigation, Survival Instincts, just sustain basically, and Celerity for more speed. You might be going as well, we are a vampire. Why are we a vampire? Being a vampire, you get access to Feed, which gives you like buffs and debuffs, mainly debuffs, but that means you can get Undeath. At stage 3, Undeath gives you about 10% damage reduction when you're at 30% health or thereabouts, which means it's a defensive set that counters executes. So if you're worried about being executed on this build, Vampire stage 3, really good, really worth considering. You can also use Mistform, which means you can get these bonus damage passives here, so that is an option too. You could also use the Mesmerize and get a stun. It's a bit clunky in all honesty, it's melee distance, it's not worth it, but that is an option. I'm going to play around with Vampire and probably go stage 3 to begin with, but I might change that depending on how it feels. So obviously do stick around for the gameplay that will come on in a couple of weeks or so. So that way you'll be able to see what I went with, and I'd also show it on stream too, so you can jump in and ask there. I will now want to go through the sets and kind of show you what all of this is about and how this is working. For the sets, we are crutching heavily on proc sets to fix the damage. Necromancer lacks range damage, we all know this, so we use Way of the Fire. We use a lightning staff. When you deal damage with a weapon, you deal additional flame damage. This has a 2-second cooldown. This will proc on light attacks. Proc, 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 proc. Awesome. It will also proc on weapon skills, which is why we use Crush and Shock. So if I use Crush and Shock, you'll see it's got 3 sources there. You get a glyph for poisons. We are using poisons, so let me just put them here. So you'll see we'll get 3 hits, but we would also get the 4th from the 5. So there it is. So that is why we use this. It's just passive damage, which we do need. So this is a really good option to use. This is a lightning staff and it is sharpened. I use double dot poisons. You can front bar them or back bar them. They are totally up to you. We then pair this with Wretched Vitality, and this is an Inferno staff defending. You're probably going, why are we using an Inferno staff, Dan? Like, you have Ice Staff. Ice Staff is basically sword and shield. It is, but as a Necromancer, you can't really hold block and heal. Necromancer isn't that type of class, and our stam pool is almost 18k anyway. We have loads of stamina to work with, which means we don't really need that block reduction, but what we do need is more killing power. And in Trifo, because you have this fully charged Infernos, give you a dot. Now that dot, if we're on the front bar, will scale. So if I switch to the front bar and then check, it's already 14k. With our damage buff, it's now 16,000. So this will go up to about 18,000 fully buffed, which is really good. It's a free damage over time. If you compare this to like Soul Trap, you'll see that the actual tooltip is the same. So this is really worth considering, in my opinion. And the way to maximize the damage is when you're on the back bar, the tooltip is lower, but when you're on the front bar, it's significantly higher. So what you can do is you can like do your normal buffs up here, put on, do your heavy attack, susceptibility and roll dot, bar swap, sorry, and then that dot will be updated. So that way, all you do is you see your target, you do your heavy attack susceptibility, and then swap bar whilst it's in the air. That will cancel the susceptibility, you get the dot on them, you get the susceptibility with the status effects. It's loads of free damage. And what's nice is you can then proc your way of the fire quite easily because of the weapon skills. So it's kind of like a win-win. Like this is really, really good. We then pair the Canard's Nightmare, I think it's pronounced. When you get 5 attacks, you get an undodgeable hand. If they can be stunned, they'll be stunned. But if they can't, you got a 10k hit. This is disgusting. And it scales on damage. So you'll see this is now 11,000. So what I often do is when I'm damaging somebody, I'm keeping track on that buff. So it's 2, 3, 4. I go for a light attack stun. And then the hand will hit them. Or you go stun light attack. But that way you can control when this hits, and this hits really hard. And if you don't have access to scribing, this is your stun in the kit, so it really fixes it. So this is really good. This is in a heavy piece and it's reinforced with health. I've then gone with trainee, reinforced, and this is heavy again. And my legs are also heavy, so it's 3 heavy on this build, all reinforced on the legs, the chest, and their head. We then have a light waist, and everything else is medium. You'll notice that the boots do have to be heavy just because we need to have one piece of fire somewhere. So just do factor that in. With this, we have essentially a mix of reinforced on the head, chest and legs. And then I aim for in-pen or well-fitted between the others. But if you do get to find someone off trait, it won't make it. Like it won't break the build, so don't panic there. If you can change it, great. If you can't, don't panic. Jewelry-wise, we use Swift and we use Necklace of Fire. We use Mark and Ring of Majesty, Infused, and we use Ring of the Fire Swift again. The reason we use 2 Swift is because Necromancer, if it gets caught, it struggles to stay alive. Having that extra 14% speed is massive. It will help keep you alive, and when you're sprinting and doing this, you are at movement speed. So this will really help you reposition and get away from people if you have to. The other thing that's worth noting with this loadout is that when we're on the front bar, where the fire turns on. When we're on the front bar, where the fire turns off. When we're on the back bar, Wretched Vitality turns on. When on the front bar, Wretched Vitality turns off. What this means is we can turn on Wretched Vitality, get the damage boost out of this, get the regens. So our regens are going 2,000 regen. Really, really good. And then what we can then do is go and actually do some damage to people. So that's how that works. For the superstar, if you are curious, this is what it looks like. I would be Sage 3 because it really helps with your just keeping alive, but that's up to you. You can change this if you wish. But that is the build in a nutshell. It's a really interesting build. It is the one that I found is the most successful that I've had with a ranged Necro in quite some time. Is it like your 1vx build? No, but it does work. You can kill people. You can kill people pretty quick, like easily if you play it well. So it does what you want. If you want a Magcro that's a bit more like stronger for killing, I do have a melee one that's on the channel, so do check it out. It's either released with this one or thereabouts, but it will be on the channel. I will just say a massive thank you for all the people that like, comment, share and subscribe, and a bigger thank you to all the people on YouTube members and on Patreon who do support. If you want early access, exclusive content and much more, there's details down below. But until the next video or stream, I'll catch you in the next one. So thanks for watching, guys. Take care and bye.